Charles, how have you been?
I have been very well, thank you. How are
Okay.
you?
Alive and kicking, and life for the most part is pretty good. And this is something you put together. Isn't it every single year you put this together, Charles?
That's correct.
Okay.
We've
For how
been
many
doing
years
this
now?
since 2003.
Okay.
So,
And before we
yeah.
get into it, I got to ask you now,
Sure.
since 2003, are things getting better or worse?
On the state level, I have some optimism. I'm very encouraged. It's the federal government that concerns me, but I'll tell you what, I can have a lot more effect on the state government than I can on the federal government.
Okay. Well, now where would you like to start now? My first thought was to go to the federal level and move into the state, but you're calling this one.
It's your show.
Okay. Let's start on the federal level because I want to end on a good, if you're saying it's better on the state level, I want to end on a good note. So on the federal level, let's take a look at the news, good, bad, and ugly.
Well, I just came back from the Republican National Committee meeting in Scottsdale, and I'm encouraged by the RNC as far as their ability to wage the mechanics of the presidential campaign. They are, unfortunately, what I also see there is that they're trying to narrow the ability of the grassroots to actually run the convention. I'm afraid we're going to get, to paraphrase Phyllis Schlafly, I want a convention, not a coronation.
Well, there you go. And something that I see on a local level from everybody that I talk to that goes to, grassroots level, local organizing for the Republican Party, they come in with new people, fresh blood, and they try to make some changes, but they're just completely out-organized by the establishment.
Well, you have to be in it for the long haul. To paraphrase Thomas Jefferson, don't expect to be transported to liberty in a feather bed.
Right.
It's not going to happen overnight, and you need to organize for the long haul, and you make progress where you can, and pick and choose your fights.
Right. Okay, so where were you at that you were in this convention, or what do you want to call it?
Let's call it the Republican National Committee meeting, which they do quarterly.
Right.
And that was in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Scottsdale, Arizona. Okay. What was usually when they open up something like this, they have a specific agenda, something they intend to get done. Did they lay something up this time?
No, they meet quarterly,
right.
And they have selected the site for the next convention, which will be in July next year in Cleveland. They have started on detailing the arrangements. They kind of start at the top. All right, we've got a convention, and here's our site, and go from there.
Right.
So they're hiring staff. They're making arrangements. We're looking at what amounts to a 4-day production with a budget of almost $100 million.
Right.
So there's a lot of complex detail, and they're getting started on that.
Wait, and while you're there, when you're listening to, what they have to say, as far as the Republicans are concerned on the national level, is this something that you find more encouraging? I mean, you and I are from a limited government perspective. Are they getting it, in other words, Charles?
Some do, some don't. What you need to understand is the Republican National Committee is, in my opinion, divorced from a lot of reality. I don't think they understand what happened in Tampa in 2012. I mean, yeah, they know what they did. They pushed through the rules changes that made it harder for the Ron Paul supporters to nominate their favorite candidate, and they did it at the last minute. But I don't think they understand how badly they ticked off people who should be natural Republican supporters.
Right. See, I had not to interrupt you on this one, but I had an interesting conversation a few years ago. Well, during the last presidential election, I had Cynthia Lummis, who hasn't spoken to me since, and we used to get along really well. But I simply told her that I was not going to vote for someone who wants to expand government. I mean, Mitt Romney Care, as an example, I'm looking for a limited government conservative. Give me that, and I'll vote for it every single time. But she was trying to convince me that, oh, no, Mitt Romney's as conservative as they come. And I'm thinking, if that's what she considers as conservative as they come, I'm worried that the Republican Party forgets what that word means.
Yeah, that's a very good point. But, I'm looking at Cynthia's voting record in the House. I'm willing to cut her some slack, and I'm willing to understand. She's got to be a team player.
Sure. Yeah. I know, honestly, in her defense, overall, I think she's been very good for the state. But there's times that I throw up my hands and go, Cindy, what are you doing here? But you're right. Yeah. She's trying to be a team player so they don't, give her an office in a hall closet with a water heater somewhere.
Right. And, she can get things done. She's done some very good bills and worked with our two senators on some good bills. And Wyoming's delegation punches above its weight. We for only having 3 people out of 535, they get some very good stuff done. So I'm not going to complain. Yes, I would love to see them more conservative. I'd like to see the entire Congress more conservative. The best picture of the Senate I've had in a long time was Ted Cruz and Rand Paul talking about the National Defense Authorization, the NSA, and with the senator from Utah presiding. Now, if we could keep a Senate that conservative for the next 6 years, I think we'd be great.
Right.
But not going to happen.
Okay. Well, it's difficult. For example, it's way too early. So, to make a prediction like this. But they keep talking about Jeb Bush as the front runner, and the coronation would be Jeb Bush. And here again, I throw up my hands and I'm thinking, if that's the guy that they want to put up, the Republicans want to put up as a conservative, they forgot what that word means. But there are some people, Scott Walker to me is, at least within the ballpark of what I'm looking for.
There you go. Sure. And, I got to meet Jeb Bush while I was at the RNC meeting, and he got a question. There were about 15 of us from the Western region, and in the room with him. It was informal. It was very polite, but he did get a question on Common Core, and he's defending it. And I'm wondering, because he also said he didn't want the federal government telling the states what to do. Well, where does he think Common Core is coming from?
Yeah.
He understands that the Department of Education has been a disaster, but still wishes to support its latest brainchild.
Well, now it comes from the opinion, and I've heard this quite a bit, that Common Core was created by the states. And if I were to look at that and say, okay, fine. For sake of argument, it was created by the states. But it's been hijacked by the federal government, and I don't think he sees that yet.
Yeah, well, the federal government was created by the states, and it's been hijacked by the federal government.
Mark that down as one of your better points in this radio interview, if not for the month.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're looking at the Republican Party on the national level now. We're doing a bit of a Liberty Index here. And so what kind of a grade would you give them?
I'm very skeptical about Mr. Bush. I don't like the fact that all the powers that be, the same people who have railroaded the RNC rules changes on us are also supporting him. I have to wonder why. If he's that good and he's that conservative, why are these people supporting him?
Yeah.
So take that with a grain of salt or your tinfoil hat handy, but
And I do have one handy, by the way. We keep one here in the studio. No, but I mean, as far as the Republican Party is concerned, I mean, give them a letter grade at this point.
I'd have to say C.
Okay.
They're doing some things right. We're going to have much better tools for data tools for working with voters and being able to contact them. They're doing some good advertising. Their Stop Hillary campaign. My concern there is not that they're not doing enough of it, but that they may be doing too much of it, and it may peak before next November. We've got a year and a half to go here, folks. But at least they're doing things. The RNC is now a 4-year operation. It doesn't just come out of the closet in time for the primaries and then try to figure out how to support whoever gets nominated. So I'm pleased with that, but I'm not pleased with the way I very much fear the grassroots will be treated at the convention.
Okay. Well, next up, I've got to get with you on what we're looking at in the state of Wyoming as far as the Liberty Index. So more with Charles Curley in just a moment.
Hey, honey, are you mad at me?
No, what makes you think that?
I mean, you kind of got steam coming out of your ears.
It's not coming out of my ears. I'm vaping, like smoking without the smoke. And Hothead Vapor in Gillette has more flavors than you can shake a stick at.
Hothead Vapors in Gillette, Wyoming. Electronic cigarettes, liquids, and accessories with a large selection of personal vaporizers, kits, mods, tanks, accessories, and over 260 flavors of e-liquids. 404 South Douglas Highway, Gillette, Wyoming. Open Monday through Friday, 10 till 8 p.m. weekdays, 12 to 8. And no matter where you are, you can find great deals online at hotheadvapor.com.
So, you like vaping over smoking?
Oh, heck yeah. And no stinky mess. So many flavors, and it helps me relax.
Are you relaxed now?
Sure.
Good. Because, I accidentally dropped the cigarette ash on your new shirt. Kind of burned a hole through it. All right, now there's steam coming out of your ears.
Hothead Vapors in Gillette, Wyoming.
Ah, summertime. You know, the great outdoors. You know what half the fun is with getting away from it all? Shopping. I mean, we're talking guns, bows, arrows, knives, camping equipment, from tents to sleeping bags, clothing, bug spray, fishing line, lures, tackle bait, cooking equipment, MREs, even all the latest electronic gadgets, and they've got it all at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports with locations throughout Wyoming. So no matter what you need, before you head out into the great outdoors, do some shopping. That's half the fun, isn't it? Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, conveniently located in Gillette, Wyoming on South Douglas Highway and 1351 CY Drive in Casper.
Pool leagues, dart leagues. Saturday night is ladies' night. Poker every Wednesday night. Domestic beers and draft on sale. And special daily dollar shots. We even have a packaged liquor drive-thru and many other things for you. It's Lakeside Liquor, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. till 2 a.m. Sunday, 11 till 11, because you need to relax after where you've been. Work is hard for the ladies and gents. Come to Lakeside Liquor. Relax and vent. Lakeside Liquors across from Wyoming Work Warehouse in Gillette.
Do you live in Gillette, Cheyenne, Sundance, Laramie, Buffalo? Do you have a Class A CDL with a doubles endorsement? Do you like making money? If you answered yes, Aulick Leasing can help you. Apply online at aulickleasing.com or give me, Chris Anderson, a call, 308-633-4023. That's 308-633-4023.
Hello. Yes, I think Glenn is going to take your call next, but don't call him Glenn. He wants to be called Pasty White Guy. Oh, no, he takes it as a compliment. Trust me. Wait, here we go.
Back to the show. Back to Glenn Woods.
Yeah, it's the Pasty White Guy here, and on the phone from, where are you this time, Charles? Because you're always someplace different when I talk to you. In Cheyenne?
I'm in Thermopolis.
Thermopolis. Okay, so this is the pasty old white guy who's in Thermopolis talking to me now from Wyoming Liberty Group, which is Charles Curley. So we took a look at part of a Liberty Index Republican Party federal. Let's take a look at the state of Wyoming, because you don't seem too optimistic as we talk about the state of Wyoming. Why not?
Well, okay. I was very pleased with the statewide Republican Party elections. The fact that I got myself elected secretary of the state GOP might have had something to do with that.
Nice.
But you and I were talking earlier about digging in for the long haul. This is, I've been involved heavily with the Republican Party since 2007. So it's taken me a bit over 8 years to achieve some prominence there. Whether that's going to help with liberty or not is another question. But I think people in the Republican Party know, at least they know who I am and they know I have opinions.
Right.
But I'm very pleased with our new chairman. He did hit the ground running. I've mentioned problems with the RNC. He has gone to bat on behalf of the Wyoming Republican Party. We're going to be able to continue to select our delegates the way, or at least I think we will. This is not nailed down yet, but he's very active in seeing to it that we will be able to select our delegates to the national convention the way we have in the past.
Okay.
So I'm pleased with that. He did, our new chairman is Matt Michaeli. One of the first things he did after he was elected was he appointed his opponent to the state executive committee. And I think that's an excellent reaching out, if you will, to his opponent. So I am pleased. I'm encouraged.
Okay. Now, see, the problem that I have, and I know a lot of others, are you still there? Because I heard a click. Well,
yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. Okay. So I thought I lost you for a second. Is the number of representatives on the state level in the state of Wyoming that have an R by their name, but they in no way represent a Republican whatsoever, and why are they still allowed in the party? That's the biggest problem I have.
Yeah, point well taken, and you're going to have to talk to the voters in their district because the party, because we have a primary system, the party has very little say over who gets the nomination. And the reality is that a lot of people who would be Democrats, except for the fact that a Democrat can't get elected, are Republicans, because
But
that's the
why?
way.
See, this has always been my question. Why, when you're in a district, and we have, where I am here in Gillette, we have a gentleman who ran as a Democrat twice, couldn't get elected, ran as an independent, couldn't get elected, finally ran as a Republican, got elected, gets into the Senate, votes as a Democrat. And I'm curious, why doesn't the Republican Party have a problem with that and go into our district and find somebody that they can put up against him in the next go-around so they can get rid of him?
Because the Republican Party itself has to be neutral. But you can do that.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people who have experience in recruiting candidates, what to look for, and we'll get you started. And now is the time to do it.
Right. See, now there's where I would have a problem with that is, okay, the Republican Party needs to be neutral in that. No, I don't think they should be neutral in that. When they find a Democrat who runs as a Republican, but then gets into office and votes as a Democrat, that makes the Republican Party in Wyoming appear as if they condone that. And that's the impression that the voters have. And so I would worry about the brand name in the state of Wyoming to make sure that you have true conservatives that are, actually representing the people rather than a Democrat with an R by his name. I would worry if I was the Republican Party in Wyoming.
Yeah, and I worry the same thing. I have that concern also, but that's the answer that I gave you is what the powers that be will tell you. Yeah. So my response is, fine, I'll go off and do some candidate recruitment myself,
right,
and not wait for the GOP to do it.
Okay. Well, that's going to be what has to happen. I do that myself. I do a lot of recruiting and trying to get people to run. It's difficult to find someone. I've got a lot of people who love to mouth off and complain, and when you ask them, well, will you step up and run? And they don't want to step up and run. And if they do try to run, unfortunately, they only try maybe once, sort of half-heartedly. And then because they lost, they don't come back. And like you said, you've got to be in this for the long haul if you want to win it.
Yes, that's a common problem. And frankly, I would think running for office like the legislature would not be the first place to go. Consider a county commissioner, consider running for office within the Republican Party, like precinct committeemen. There are other places to start.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it costs between $7,000 and $15,000 to run for the House of Representatives in Wyoming.
Right.
People don't want to put that up themselves, and I understand that. That means you got to do a lot of fundraising. It's hard. It's going to be harder with a presidential campaign because that's going to suck up a lot of money that otherwise would go to local candidates.
Okay.
So I understand people's reluctance, but you got to start somewhere, and it needs to be done.
All right. So overall, let's give a letter grade again to the Republican Party's state of Wyoming. And are you optimistic or pessimistic?
I'm optimistic, not because of the Republican Party itself, but because people like you are observing what you've just said and standing up to it.
Yeah.
I am very glad to see, what you just said. You're doing your own candidate recruitment. That is great. That's what I want to see more of.
Right. Well, now, I think I'm sorry, optimistic or pessimistic, but letter grade.
If you include the whole, everybody who's registered Republican
mm-hmm.
and is doing things, I would say a C or maybe even a B. Okay. I'm optimistic here.
Okay. I would like to see some more people, Charles, at the grassroots level, get some organizational skills, because I see some good people who want to do the right thing. They don't know how to organize to do it is the problem that I see. Charles, as always, thanks for coming on. Where can people find your work?
WyomingLibertyIndex.info.
Okay. Thank you, Charles. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Glenn. Bye-bye.